Hey, it's Jason the PT, and today we're talking about hip mobility, hip flexors, and how you can differentiate what your restrictor is. Everybody blames the hip flexors, but muscles stretch if you stretch them. But if the joint can't go there, the muscle can't go there. Good big thing to note is there's no pure plane of motion in the body. When I go to flex my hip, I externally rotate. When I go to extend, I internally rotate. So the hip motion is actually this, okay? Everybody focuses on external rotation because it's a lot of the fun stuff. It's yoga, it's sports, and that's great and wonderful. But in the context of moving, especially when you're walking around or running, hip internal rotation is much more useful to you because if you can't internally rotate, you can't fully extend. If you can't fully extend, you're going to transfer problems to the knee, or in the vast majority of cases, I see people with back problems because if they can't fully extend and internally rotate, that force, instead of going through the hip, goes through the spine to create hip extension, okay? So you need that internal rotation. That's the bigger restrictor over muscles. So how do we differentiate? Easy test. You sit on a bench, have your thighs about parallel to the floor, feet about shoulder width, and all you do is then drop your knees in, okay? Now what you're noticing is my left actually can go all the way in, where this one doesn't. So on the left, I come in and I actually get a little bit of wiggle. So that tells me I have more of a restriction potentially in some of the capsular tissues. But on the right, when I try to come in, I don't have much. And when I push on it, it doesn't really want to go. So it can't possibly be the hip flexors because they're on slack. So I know I have a lack of hip internal rotation on this side, so I'm probably lacking extension, and that incriminates the joint. How do we fix it? Easy. What you do, sit on a bench, you bring your foot kind of behind you, and then you turn it out to the side to induce some of that internal rotation. So I'm already moving into internal rotation. Then what I do is I try to move the knee, the down knee, towards the floor and inward. And that's going to give you some of that hip internal rotation and extension and move the joint into that position. Now you notice I'm doing just short oscillations, just like that. Or what you can do is put your foot up on the bench, plant it, and then rotate over it. So you can actually induce it this way, or to make it a little more effective, tuck your toes on the long side of the bench there, and then you move your pelvis towards the leg that you're trying to work on. But that's going to help you with that internal rotation mobility, and it keeps you from stressing out the hip flexors and the hip labrum. So do that test. If you're positive on that test, mobilize the hip into internal rotation. I hope that helps. Follow me for more.